So welcome back to the X-Files Revisited. We are on to episode 4 of season 3, Clyde Bruckman. Brian?
Yeah.
As you alluded to last time, you said this was a big episode. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah. So the episode title, the full episode title, is actually Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. But yeah, we'll just call it Clyde Bruckman for short. Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into it, so there's no point me giving the game away, although I think I've pretty much done that already with the last episode. Look, I love this episode. episode. The interesting thing about this will be to find out whether you love this episode.
Well, I guess we'll discover that throughout the review.
Yes.
What I will say is when this one started, I got flashbacks. I remember this one.
Right.
Particularly one moment, but I'll remind you, I'll talk about it when we get to it. One moment that stuck with me that I do remember quite a bit, but you know, let's get into the episode itself and see what it has to offer.
You know, this episode to me kind of has a little bit of that vibe of John dies at the end, but better, I think.
Not as manic.
Not quite as manic. No, a bit more to say, I think. But anyway, so yeah, we start off. Clyde Bruckman reads, otherwise known as Peter Boyle. So yeah, we've got another big name actor, fairly big name for TV at this point. Clyde Bruckman reads predictions from the stupendous Yappy, a psychic from a newspaper, whilst buying some whiskey. Some amusing predictions, I think, by this guy.
Oh yeah.
But he crosses the street after buying his newspaper and his whiskey, and bumps into a man who walks into basically bumps into this guy. There's an exchange between them, which I think was quite amusing. And so this guy, who will come to be known as the Puppet, he walks into a fortune teller's place and has his palms read before killing the woman who's just read his palms. So yeah, so it's a bizarre opening.
It is, but it's a kind of fun opening.
Sorry, just pause there. Doors going, flipping. Cheers. Typical. Right. You were saying?
Yeah, it's a bizarre opening. I think it's a rather fun one with having the Peter Boyle character. You don't really know what he's doing. Seems to be commenting on these rather strange predictions, and then just buys booze and leaves. And I'm like, okay, this is the character we're following. Then he bumps into someone in the street, and then we instantly follow that other character. And I was like, oh, so now we're on to this one, which is a bit of a twist, because obviously you know Peter Boyle from other things, and I thought, you know, that's who we're going to follow. We get into the fortune teller, the palm reader, and you just instantly know that this guy is wrong. But he's a rather strange looking actor, as in he doesn't look menacing or evil. He's rather unassuming, just your typical guy. He's not big, he's kind of small, and I thought it was a nice interplay between those two. And you know, it's one of those things that you always see people saying to like fortune tellers, you should have seen this coming.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's an interesting opening. It doesn't feel like a traditional X-Files opening at all. But
no.
You get the sun's kind of whiting you out again a bit there, mate. So. Okay, so yeah, This is an episode, as is often the case with Darren Morgan episodes, where I get more out of it on repeat viewings, because I think the first time I saw it, I didn't really tune in to a lot of what Bruckman was saying, because he talks a lot. He comes out with a lot of stuff. He's very deadpan in his delivery.
Yes.
And there's a lot of humour that comes out of that, and even more so on repeat viewings, like I say, just that certain things that I pick up on and whatnot. But yeah, so Mulder and Scully arrive with a profile of the killer based on previous victims. So this isn't the first fortune teller. This isn't the first victim. They arrive with this profile. But the police who are there bring in this guy, Yappy, the stupendous Yappy, who hates Mulder's scepticism. Does the old Spock thing with his eyebrows, and he chucks him out. He chucks Mulder out of the room because he feels like it's hindering his ability to psychically evaluate the situation. And Mulder tells the police that Yappy is basically full of it.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on at the start of this scene, but I loved it because the FBI guys are talking about, but we've decided to call. You've called in extra help. Yeah, I feel that this guy should come in and can help us out. I mean, he's described as a bit spooky, which would be fun. And then Mulder and Scully turn up, and they're like, "Who are you guys?" I forgot you. So it's a kind of joke, as in, because we're all thinking it's Mulder and Scully. It's not. And then Yappy turns up, and it is the most. It's what you think of when you think of psychics.
Yeah.
To be fair, you know, the murderer will be a man or a woman. The killer will be within the age of 5 and 90.
I love it. It's great.
Somewhere in the crime scene will be the colour red, blue, green or yellow. It's one of those funny scenes, and then the fact that Mulder gets pinpointed as the skeptic, it's kind of funny because he's always the person that believes, but you know that he's skeptical of this guy, as everybody should be. And Yappy's kind of funny.
It harkens back to that previous Morgan episode, Humbug, in which this character of Mulder, who is generally considered the freaky one, the spooky one, suddenly becomes quite normal when put in the context of these circus freaks. Here Morgan does the same, except he's saying actually Mulder's quite normal by regular everyday people standards, because look at these guys, and it's like it is that thing of kind of normalizing Mulder to the extent of making the rest of society look like the weirdos, the freaks, the kooks. I love the way that Morgan plays with that. But Mulder says that he's full of it, goes into various reasons why, which is quite interesting. But we move to Bruckman selling insurance. So it turns out that if you're a psychic, you can see people's deaths. What a job to go for! Sell insurance, life insurance. This guy really wants to buy a boat. But Bruckman's like, you don't want to buy a boat. It's like, no, I really want to buy a boat. And then Bruckman's like, you don't get it, do you? And then he proceeds to tell him how this guy's going to die on a boat in several years' time, basically putting the guy off. No.
He tells the guy he's going to die driving home.
Oh yeah, yes. So you need life insurance, basically.
Yes.
A boat is not what you need. Life insurance is what you need right now to provide for your family when you're gone. Really funny scene. Obviously tells us more about Bruckman as a character, what he sees. So far we've seen him taking the mick out of psychics, and here we learn that he is one. A genuine one in the midst of this investigation. So the question is, how is he going to come into play here? So he goes home for a drink and we get a bizarre series of visions, which will all come into play later on in the episode. But he takes a head of lettuce out of the fridge, and when he looks at it, it's an actual head, a bloody head inside it, which he then proceeds to bin. He goes around to his neighbours to take out her garbage, and sees visions of her dog chewing away at her body. Which is pretty grim. And then he goes downstairs and then finds an actual body, another fortune teller, in the dumpster out the back. So yeah, we very quick.
I think you get a good. Sorry, when you go.
I think I was just going to say what it seems you might be about to say, so I'll let you say it.
I think you get a good look into this guy, just by seeing his routine. You see him in his fridge. He seems like a bit of a loner. Never seen him with a smile on his face, but he's not one of these overall negative people. He goes to the next door neighbour's house and he tries to help. He's obviously helped her out before. He's like, you got any trash you need to take down, and then sees the vision. Has your dog got enough food? The little jokey, and then goes down the stairs, and he's shocked by the body as well. I kind of like this character so far. From what we see.
I think you also get, and again, I think this works more on repeat viewings. Once you get the whole context, the whole sweep of the episode, and you go back and watch it. I really gain a sense of sympathy for this guy, because every interaction that he has with someone, he sees their death, and it's like, like you commented, he never smiles. There's a reason for that. His human interaction is plagued with visions of death constantly. With everyone that he meets, and so if anyone's got a right to be miserable, it's this guy. So I get a real sense of sympathy for him, helped by Boyle's Emmy-winning performance, it must be said. Okay, so Mulder and Scully arrive on the scene. Scully asks who found the body, which takes them to Bruckman's room, his flat, where they're interviewing him. Scully interviews Clyde. He knows loads of stuff, even though he didn't touch the body. So like he didn't touch the body. He didn't even like turn it over to look at it or anything. It's face down. Yet he knows everything about it. Yeah. And yet he claims he didn't touch it. He didn't read about any of the other cases as well, so he claims. And Mulder takes him to the first victim's apartment. Mulder starts sensing some things about this guy. So
I like looking back at the episode after seeing the end of it. There's lots of conversations throughout this about probability and predestination of things. And looking back at it, or talking about it now, you have the idea that the killer is also a psychic and is very similar to Clyde's role. And you understand that he has placed that body there so that the FBI become in contact with Clyde Bruckman. When you think about it, he's doing things because he's seen it. Yeah. And he knows, but placing that body there, he's going to introduce the FBI to Bruckman, which is then going to continue the story, because he's already sent a letter to Bruckman that you get later on. So it has all these facets that you don't immediately think of, but when you look back at it, you realise how well thought out and how layered it actually is.
It is extremely layered, and it's that I got such an appreciation for this guy as a writer. Just the level of detail that goes into his script is just phenomenal. But just the conversations as well, the interactions, they're always about something. You know what I mean? It's like this interaction here between him and Mulder and Scully, that they're saying a lot, but they're actually saying a lot. It's not just words. That like Morgan likes to deal with these themes. He likes to delve deep into stuff, and it is, like you said, that idea of predestination, determinism, and all that kind of stuff. And there's in many ways, this reminds me of a lot of the ideas that are raised in the film Arrival. Like, spoiler! If you've not seen Arrival and you don't want it spoiling, well, I won't spoil it, but let's just say, like, the ending in that film, it raises that question: if you see the end coming, would you try and change it? Can you even change it? Or would it find another way of working itself out? And it almost seems like Bruckman is, well, it doesn't almost seem, he comes out and says it at one point, that he's a character who's kind of resigned himself to the fact that this stuff will happen regardless of what he does. It'll find its own way to work itself out. So so they take him to the apartment of the first victim, basically the same place where the stupendous Yappy did his thing, and they get him to do his version of it, basically. And at many points, it seems very familiar. It seems very similar to the way that Yappy did it. But each time he goes into that sense of familiarity, he kind of he throws a curveball in there. He throws something else in there that suggests, actually, no, this guy knows what he's talking about. Whereas Yappy it's the difference between making it up.
He throws out the blanket statement and then he pinpoints it down.
Yeah,
as to why, like, especially about the guy, like, the guy doesn't feel like he's in control.
Yeah,
but it's more than that. He feels that he is already determined that this is going to happen. He's being controlled. He's a puppet.
Yeah. So he ends up naming Glenview Lake as the place that the body will be found for the victim. Talks about why people do what they do. Like you said, the killer thinks he's a puppet. Why did the victim collect dolls? So he has this really nice conversation about, because in the apartment there's this collection of dolls, and he's talking like, why did this why does anybody do anything? Why did this victim collect dolls? Is it, did they just wake up one morning and suddenly decided to collect dolls, or did an event happen in their life that determined that they would be that kind of person? And it does raise, again, it's that theme, isn't it? Like, in Humbug we had this theme that Morgan was getting to grips with in every scene, and that's the way he writes. He builds his stories, and each scene he deals with that theme. He never strays away from that theme. He's always fixating on it, asking more questions about it. And there is that, why do we do the things that we do? Is it fate? Is it destiny? Are we controlled in some way? Have we got no choice? And
like any good theorist, he doesn't give you an answer.
No, he asks the questions but never provides the answers, which, like you say, really great way to create discussion. So we cut to them pulling the body from Glenview Lake. And Mulder argues at this point that Bruckman is a genuine psychic. Scully says that maybe he just got lucky, and at which point Mulder points out the fat little white Nazi stormtrooper, which Bruckman had mentioned they'd find near the crime scene. But that's just the icing on the cake. Is the fat little white Nazi stormtrooper? The fact that he got the very lake which the body was going to be dragged out of, then having that stormtrooper thing next to it.
But it's a nice image as well, because it's close enough to that description to go, that is it. But it's far enough away for that to go, like, well, are you seeing that because the thought was put in your head? Yeah. Or is that what you would have thought anyway? Yeah. And it's more, there is as much evidence to say that it is as there is to say that it's been predisposed because somebody's put that idea into your head.
Yeah. Definitely. It doesn't change the fact that he got the right lake in which she was buried. So Mulder goes to see Bruckman, who treats his gift with disdain. He doesn't want to help because he thinks the future is written. So why bother doing anything to try to change it? but he talks himself in. I love this moment. Absolutely love this moment. It's just perfection. He talks himself into it by warning Mulder of the dangers of tampering with the future. So he goes into this whole spiel about why you shouldn't tamper with the future. And he's like, what if I could go back in time and change an event, like the butterfly effect, where, these world-changing events didn't happen, and ultimately my mum and dad didn't get together, which means I was never born. When do we start? It's like he instantly realises that, oh, right, I could wipe myself out here. That'd be nice. Right, so,
see, I look at it as in, it's already predetermined.
Yeah.
We've seen at the start, at the head of lettuce, it's his head in the bag.
Yeah.
Which comes full circle at the end. So this was probably all predetermined to happen to facilitate that. So he had no choice in saying that. Yes, he wanted to do it. I just want to go back to the start of this scene, right? And this is one of the things that is perpetrated all through the episode that I think really raised it above a standard episode, and that is the delivery and the underlying humour that comes within these episodes. We have this part where the door goes, Clyde Bruckman's got his head in his hands covered, and Mulder walks in. Mulder doesn't get to say a word. He tells them why he's there, what they found, what they're going to do, blah blah, and then when he takes his hands off his eyes, he goes, oh, it's you. Which is just one of these, like, it's like a throwaway line. It's just absolutely hilarious and delivered perfectly.
Oh, it's you. Yeah, it's just, and you can't help but feel, is that Bruckman's humour coming out? Because it's like, I think he knows it was Mulder, but it
gives him too much information not to know.
Absolutely. But just like, there's no, he didn't get confused. He wasn't expecting someone else. Or was it? Was there a particular timeline? Again, going into predetermination and all that lot, and is that the case? Did he see in his vision? Was it Scully who came through the door? But because of something that has happened since this investigation started that has changed that, maybe a decision that he's made, it ended up being Mulder. So again, there's always that hint that, he could be joking, but then again, he might not be. And because we're dealing with, destiny versus free will, fate versus free will, all that kind of stuff, it could very easily be either one of the two. Because, like you talk about, he saw his head in the thing, so it's going to happen. He's resigned himself to that fact, but has he resigned himself to that fact because it's going to happen, or is it going to happen because he's resigned himself to that fact? And that's the question that the episode raises, because it's like he's already made his mind up that this stuff is going to happen, so he's just got to roll with the punches. And you kind of get, there is that question there that as Mulder kind of hints that, well, actually, if you get off your ass and do something about it to try and change these events, maybe you could. So maybe we do have free will, but you're choosing not to exercise that free will because you've got into this kind of state of mind where, it's going to happen. So it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy in that regard.
And again, we never get any answers.
Yeah, we don't get any answers, but the fact that it raises these questions is what's so clever, so brilliant about it. And it's just, I love it. You don't get this kind of discussion with the average episode of X-Files because a theme isn't latched onto and dealt with so specifically in every scene of the episode in the way that Morgan does it. Where so he goes to speak with Bruckman.
Mulder takes him to the evidence room.
Right. So he takes it. Mulder and Bruckman play hit or miss. So basically, Mulder keeps on giving him various things from the crime scenes, and Bruckman kind of puts it to his head, and he either gets a hit or a miss. It did come from the crime scene. It had something to do with it, or it didn't. And this guy is just getting misses. And we do get a really nice moment where he says, I've got it. This is from your New York Knicks t-shirt, which you may remember me saying this. So we first got this in one of my favourite episodes, Beyond the Sea, yeah, when he tricked Boggs with it. And yeah, so it does. I think it resurfaced at some point in season 2, if I'm not mistaken, and it's just resurfaced here again. But
then Mulder says miss.
Yeah, it says miss. Yeah, so it isn't. So it's a nice little in-joke there. Scully brings a key from one of the crime scenes. Bruckman says the man who owns it is dead. So yeah, I missed precisely what had gone on with this key, where she'd got it from, but it's from one of the crime scenes, and yeah, it's from the crime scene, and he holds it, and then he starts rhyming off all this information about the person. He's this age, and she's like, "Wow, you got all that from the keyring?" Like, no, it's just coincidence. I told him life insurance. Yeah. So he remembers him. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but he does know that he's dead. So he sold him life insurance, but he does know that he's dead. And he has an inkling as to where the body is. So they go off to find this body, and they have again a nice little combo in the car. They're on the way to the body, and Mulder asks how the visions come. He's really he wants to know. He wants Clyde to tell him, well, is it like a dream? Is it what is it? And Bruckman tells him that there are worse ways to go than autoerotic asphyxiation.
It's just great. It's such a line, because you just assume he's messing with Fox, but it's just like, why did you say that? It stops him questioning him about his ideas and puts him on to like, why did you say that?
Yeah, just like, hey, yeah, it's just, it's something you could believe as well with Mulder, given his penchant for watching porn.
Yeah,
it's like, oh man, but yeah, just what a line, cracking stuff. So they pull over to look for the body in this forest, and as they're walking through the forest, Bruckman shares his Big Bopper story. So obviously, Big Bopper is this artist who went down. Did he go down in the plane with Buddy Holly? Yeah. He went down in the plane with Buddy Holly that Buddy Holly died in, and he was only on that plane because he tossed a coin to decide whether or not he was going to go on this trip, and he ended up going. And it's like Bruckman became so obsessed when he heard this story. He became so obsessed with his idea of chance and probability that something opened up in his mind where he was literally able to see the end result of where people would end up, all the probabilities and stuff. So obviously Scully says this is complete hokum. Sorry, you don't expect me to buy this. No way, not buying it. But they go back to the car, having not found the body. Bruckman's a bit confused because he's adamant it's there. They get a bit stuck in the mud, so they push the car, and as they push it, it reveals that they were actually parked on top of it. So where Bruckman had said stop here, the body's here, he literally meant it's here. It was right underneath them. So
and this is one of the two things from this episode that stuck with me, and small things, silly things like when Mulder says to him, "Oh, I'm glad I amused you. You put a smile on your face," and he's like, "It's not a smile, it's a grimace." That line for some reason has stuck with me ever since I saw this episode in 1985 or whatever.
Right. Okay. So from way back when. Right.
Don't know why, but that is just that stuck in my brain for some reason or other.
Yeah. It does call attention to, from Mulder's perspective, that this guy never smiles, and like he there's a bit of a humanitarian element in Mulder there, that actually he wants to see this guy smile. Mulder sympathises with this guy, and he'd like to put a smile on his face, and he's happy to see that there's a smile on his face, as he says. But again, we learn once again it's not. He ain't smiling; it's a grimace. And I just think that idea that I think he walks through most of his life with a grimace on, and this is no different really. But it's quite sad in many ways. But Mulder and Scully take a fibre over to Bruckman's that was found on the body. Bruckman says it belongs to the killer. He sees a vision of the future from the killer's perspective. I love this. Of Mulder being killed after stepping in a pie. Mulder and even Scully at this point start to get really kind of worked up by it.
Well, he never says killed.
No, he's saying the killer's coming up behind Mulder, and we see in the vision eventually that he does slash Mulder's throat. There is that. But from Mulder and Scully's perspective, they're like they just want to know the end of this story. Where's he going? What's the end? How's Mulder gonna? Does Mulder survive? This, that, and the other. And all he keeps fixating on is this damn pie. It's like, is it cheese? No. It's
lemon meringue.
Lemon meringue. It's this lemon meringue pie. It's like it's just fixated on the details of this pie.
I've got it. It was banoffee.
Yeah. So,
but this is what I like about this scene. Is it plays out as he's telling the story. He's telling about Mulder being caught up, and when it gets to the point where the guy is coming behind Mulder with a knife, he's describing it, and then he stops, and then they're like, and then what? And he's like, and then nothing. That's it. It's gone. But we see Mulder having his throat slit.
Yeah.
Nobody says that. We can only imagine that is a visual representation of us doing some big supposing, or one of the characters thinking that, but the main character never says that. So it's a misdirect from the filmmaker. Yeah, well,
it's open to interpretation. That's the thing, and the way I read it, and again, this isn't definitive. It is open to interpretation, but the way I choose to read it is that Bruckman does see that. He sees it because I see him as being stuck in this mindset of predeterminism. Everything's going to happen, so why try to change it? And Mulder isn't.
I have a theory.
Mulder isn't stuck in that mindset.
I see this because Mulder knows that this guy sees people's deaths, and he's describing Mulder chasing after this guy. So I think that Mulder is assuming that the guy is going to kill him, when what Bruckman is seeing is not Mulder's death, but the puppet's death, because he gets shot moments after it.
But that doesn't explain the seeing Mulder's throat get cut.
Yeah, I think that's Mulder projecting that onto it, because nobody mentions anything about it.
Okay.
I think it's Mulder, because Mulder just assumes that because he always sees people's death, and this guy was coming up behind him with a knife. He's assuming that, when really what Bruckman is seeing is the puppet's death, this guy's demise. Yeah,
it's a nice reading, and people are free to have that reading. It's not my reading, but that's fine. That's I think that's purposeful. I think that's the way the episode plays. It is. It's the way the episode plays, isn't it? It's, and that's why I like it. I like stuff like that isn't so definitive. But for me, it is this dichotomy between a character who's so fixed on predetermined events, and then someone like Mulder who says, no, I don't prescribe to that. You can change your destiny. You can choose your destiny. But
you see, Mulder, the way he describes it is he's like, the guy's coming from behind you.
Yeah.
And Mulder thinks that because he knows that, he can change what's going to happen, so he turns round, but because he's already predetermined to turn round, that's why the guy is behind him and gets them. And because of the way he envisages it, he imagines that he's going to turn around and just shoot the guy. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Because when
he thinks he's changing the future because he's going to turn around and shoot him, but he's just playing into the way it's already played out.
Yeah.
Because the guy is behind him again.
Yeah.
again, it's just some big supposing.
Yeah. It's a mighty big supposing. No, but it's good. I love it. It's great. Really great episode. So yeah, he gives Mulder and Scully an unopened letter that he was sent from the killer, as he jokingly puts it, who says he's going to kill Bruckman. So it is actually a letter from the killer, and the killer basically says, I know you exist, and I'm going to kill you. Yeah. Doesn't know what Bruckman looks like at this point.
Yeah. But then Bruckman doesn't know what he looks like
no,
either.
Neither one of them do. Neither one of them know, because they see through each other's eyes, but they've so far not seen. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's interesting.
Then we get a kind of mix of two scenes next. We get the tarot reading, and we get Scully talking to Bruckman.
Yeah. So we keep flashing between the two. So the puppet goes to see another sidekick, interspersed with interactions between Bruckman and Scully. Some really great interactions between Mulder and Scully,
and the sidekick as well, because this sidekick is pretty much spot on.
Yes. And I don't know if you'll notice, but he's a carryover from the last Darren Morgan episode. So the actor playing this guy is the one who was heavily made up, who sold Scully into going into that room and looking at.
Did not know that. Yep.
Yeah. So same guy. Bruckman tells Scully that they end up in bed together. Which is just hilarious. It's like, man, just the way that Morgan sets stuff up in this is just. He makes it seem so easy, so off the cuff, just really light. You know, he has these things where something can seem light and fluffy, but then has a payoff that is actually deep and profound. And then he can do something that feels like it's going somewhere deep and profound, but it ends up with like, oh, it's you. You know, like it's just, oh man, I wish I could write like this guy, but the psychic's last card that he flips over is the death card, which the puppet says is his card. Shortly before killing him. And we flip back to Scully, who asks how she's going to die. And Bruckman simply says, you don't.
Yep.
Interesting. Did you mean you don't in this case? Or
ever?
Or, yeah, interesting. Given where... Yeah. Anyway, Mulder arrives and says that the lace they found is Chantilly Lace, which relates back to the Big Bopper, who obviously made the famous song Chantilly Lace.
Yeah.
Which I know from the film True Lies, and that's kind of like the key to this particular case. That Bruckman got so fixated on the Big Bopper and that whole story and chance because of that song Chantilly Lace. Is that the key to what's going on here? Who knows? Is it the connection? Scully says coincidences. Mulder asks, why do all coincidences feel so contrived if they're just coincidences? Which I think is a really nice question to ask that deals with faith, shall we say. You talk about you can apply the same question to miracles, can't you? Why do miracles seem like coincidences when like contrived coincidences when when
I get what you're saying.
So okay, yeah, you get it. So I like that question there. That again, I think you need that question because we have been on this subject of again, predeterminism. You know, if everything is just destined, we have no free will, no choice, then really we're just living a program that somebody else has kind of...
We're in the Matrix.
Yeah, we're in the Matrix. We may as well just not care about anything, really. So throwing that question in there kind of plants that seed that actually, you know, that links back to faith, I think, that also links back to free will and choice, and which is the angle I think Mulder's coming at it from anyway. So Mulder sleeps in the bed next to Bruckman, so Scully goes off. They've been doing shifts. She's had her shift. Mulder takes over, sleeps in the bed next to Bruckman's, and Bruckman tells him this dream.
That's awesome.
It's a really great dream in which he's asleep on his flower bed, and then his body just starts decomposing until he ends up into complete nothingness. And then he rolls over and says, "Well, good night," and turns out the light.
But you can't help but feel that he's just messing with Mulder. This whole horrible dream, and it's not until you see the next morning when Mulder's not slept you realise the effect this has just had on him.
Yeah, and brilliant special effects as well.
Fantastic.
Excellent special effects. The way you see that body just slowly degrading into nothingness. Yeah, really good for early 90s as well. Yeah, some serious work gone into that. So, let's say Scully knocks on the door. He comes to it looking all bedraggled. She tells him there's been another murder, and the detective stays with Bruckman. So yeah. Mulder and Scully bump into the bellhop on their way out of the building. Scully kind of puts her hand on the tray. Yes,
you just know.
Yeah. Scully puts her hand on the tray, which is significant for a moment. That'll happen in just a moment. So yeah, they're going down the hall, and Mulder says he's frustrated with Bruckman, while Scully admits to actually feeling sorry for him.
Yeah.
Which it's interesting. I like that. I like hearing them talk about Bruckman in these kind of contradicting ways. The way that Scully has this compassion for him, whereas I think because Mulder sees him as a way of getting to that elusive truth, in some ways it stops him from seeing his humanity.
I think it's a case of he has the answers but can't articulate them as to why, because Mulder can't get a reason as to what he can do. It's really just frustrating him in such a way. Yeah. And because he really does play with Mulder all the way through the episode as well.
So the detective goes to the bathroom for a smoke, and Bruckman lets the bellhop in.
Well, let's just hang on, because the detective's like, can you see how I die?
Is it cancer?
Like, is it lung cancer? No. So the first thing he does is take a cigarette out from behind his ear. But you kind of know his time's limited, so enjoy that cigarette while you can.
Now the question here is, did Bruckman know he was letting the killer in? Because he seems shocked, he seems surprised, as does the killer. The two of them don't appear to realise that they were going to meet in this moment. It's almost like Bruckman could see the detective's death from the killer's point of view, so he'd have seen him going down onto the bathroom floor, getting killed, but he wouldn't know that it was necessarily at this moment in time by this bellhop. Because otherwise he wouldn't have opened the door, surely.
I mean, you never really see things. I don't think you see things through the killer's eyes. Like whenever he's seen the visions, I think he's just seen the ramifications of what's happened and just knows what's happened. Specifically in that scene with Mulder, when Mulder's in the kitchen, you never see through the killer's eyes. It's sometimes the camera is made to look that way, but obviously from the locations of where they are, he couldn't have been.
Yeah, it's just bizarre that they You know, they've seen the end to so many things and stuff, and yet they don't know each other. They'd like when they see each other. It is funny. It's like it's almost because they're so connected. It's like there's a part of themselves that they've not been able to see in each other. It's weird, but yeah. So they suddenly realise who each other is. The detective comes out of the toilet. Puppet goes and kills him. Mulder and Scully are at the psychic's murder scene, the one that's just down the road from this hotel. Scully finds lace. Oh, sorry. Scully finds lace under her thumbnail, connects it to the bellhop. She kind of has a quick flashback to how she grabbed a tray. That's you had like a doily on it, a lace doily, and she runs out. And Mulder's like, women's intuition, which is quite amusing. So Scully finds Chavez, the detective, while Mulder has a run-in with a pie and the bellhop. So this is where we see that vision that Bruckman had almost coming true, but not coming true, or was it not even coming true? Has it come true? Depending on whose perspective you look at it from, it's either way, if you want to believe in predetermination, there's enough here to suggest that. If you want to believe in free will and choice, there's also enough there to suggest that, which is great. Scully saves the day thanks to a broken elevator that she stepped into. No sign of Bruckman though. So
no.
Okay, so they go to Bruckman's apartment, where there is a dog waiting for Scully. So a little note saying, don't hold it against him what he's done to his owner, because he was kind of locked in the room with her dead body for the past couple of days. So there's a note there for Scully saying basically, do you want a dog? And the answer to that is yes. She's going to keep this dog. It will come up.
Cannibalistic dog?
Cannibalistic dog.
Right, I want one of them.
Woo! This dog will play a significant role in a future episode of the X-Files. So look out for that one. Bruckman has committed suicide, so it appears. At least that's what I take from it.
Yes.
I don't think he's been murdered. He's committed suicide, leading to his vision of him and Scully on the bed coming true as she looks down at his body in a tearful manner with his hand clasped in hers. Very touching moment and quite, like I say, profound. When you go back to how light was made of it, very good. Yeah,
and then we have one final scene.
Yeah, we've got one final scene with Scully watching TV. The stupendous Yappy comes on, and he's like, pick up the phone and have your future read. Does his whole eyebrow thing, and she's literally just seconds away from dialing the number, and then she realises, what the hell am I doing? This guy's a clown. Throws the phone at the TV and the episode goes off. So
done.
Done.
I'll wrap up. As much fun as I had with this episode and that, I did find it disappointing. Disappointing that it came so early in the season, because I can't imagine a better episode this season. So episode 4 of a 24 episode season, and to be honest, I don't see this being ousted as being a better episode. It's so layered, it's so full of rewatchability. There's scenes that can be discussed and dissected in several manners. The main character is a revelation, particularly in his deadpan delivery of things, the way he's constantly messing with Mulder, the way he constantly messes with everybody, to be fair, pretending to do predictions when he already knows the information. And I just think that this episode is the way the X-Files should be constantly. You know, you look back at the last episode of WPO, it was a slog to get through. There was nothing to latch on to. Here we have some fantastic discussions, some fantastic set pieces. We have lots of double meanings, lots of ways you can interpret the episode, and I think it's marvellous. For me, I would give it 6 out of 5 if I could. It's terrific, absolutely terrific. I can't add anything really.
5 out of 5 from me. Once again, what I love about Morgan is he writes about something. He takes a theme, he runs with that theme, and that theme doesn't just pop up in a couple of scenes throughout the episode. It pops up in every scene. He's so focused on whatever idea it is he's discussing. You know, you look at Humbug, it was that idea of who are the real freaks in society, you know? And every single scene deals with that idea in some way. This, again, you know, deals with those ideas, predetermination versus free will and choice, and every scene in some way deals with it or asks questions about it, and it's just brilliance, pure writing brilliance. I think the guy's a genius. I don't know why he hasn't written movies or anything, you know, like it just boggles my brain. This is not the quality of writing that you get usually on TV shows. No. Even your best TV shows, your favourite TV shows, you think of your favourite episodes in it, that they're not written with this much clarity, this much, yeah. So 5 out of 5. And
directed by David Nutter as well.
Yes.
Who's become a good favourite. So, from one classic episode on to the next one, which is The List. Brian, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, my memory says that it's a solid episode, but it sits somewhere in style, I would say, between something like Fresh Bones, which isn't good, and Beyond the Sea.
Right, okay.
So because of the setting and all that, and various things in it, it's no way near as good as Beyond the Sea, but no way near as bad as Fresh Bones, if my memory serves me correct. So I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Just tell me this, put me out of misery. Is there going to be any episodes that live up to this one in the rest of season 3?
Well, there is another Darren Morgan episode in this season.
Right.
And there's also an episode called Pusher, which is a fan favourite. I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's a different kind of episode. It's more the Tombs kind of Monster of the Week episode, but a very good one. One that's coming up in not too long from now is Too Shy, which I kind of like. I think that could go either way with you, but for me, I really like it. Scully kicks mega ass in that one, but yeah, no, I think you've got some highlights still to come in this season. So don't be put off by how good Clyde Bruckman was. I think it still is probably the best episode of the season, but
yeah. Okay, so there we have it, and we'll see you next week for The List. Thanks for watching.